Ghosted? What's it mean to be ghosted? Has anybody disappeared from your life? We're going to talk about it next. What's ghosting and how do you know if it could be done to you and what to do about it?
Dr. Gregory Jantz is a best-selling author of over 45 books and the founder of the Center A Place of Hope, voted a top 10 center for depression treatment in the U.S. As the pioneer of whole-person care, Dr. Jantz is known as the messenger of hope. Now the nation's expert on anxiety, depression, substance abuse, relationships, trauma, and PTSD, here is Dr. Gregory Jantz.
Hi, it's Dr. Greg Jantz. As a counselor, mental health counselor, the pain of betrayal is great. And one of the ways that we're seeing more and more betrayal is on the topic of ghosting. I'm holding in my hand the book Ghosted. Here today, ghosted tomorrow, when somebody you care about disappears from your life. And ghosting is not a new phenomena, it's just really increased. One of the things that we think about when we think about ghosting is dating and dating relationships. And actually, that could be true. Online dating, you think that, you have a relationship going and all of a sudden they don't respond to you. All of a sudden, they're gone. And then there is this excruciating rejection. What did I do wrong? And then I escalate my attempts to reach them and contact them. And then I feel like, I'm angry. It's the cycle of anger to a sense of deep depression that I did something to ruin this relationship, and we take on self-blame. By the way, it's not just an online dating. I pulled up some interesting stats that I share here in my little book, but right now, I think it's best we define the term ghosting. And if you go to the dictionary, I'm going to read the dictionary definition: the act or practice of abruptly cutting off all contact with someone, usually without explanation, and then you no longer respond or accept messages and don't respond to phone calls. That's ghosting. And if you dig a little deeper and go to Psychology Today, ghosting is abruptly ending communication with somebody without explanation. This is what makes it so difficult. It's without explanation. Now, we're just now beginning to kind of study this, and surveys have been done. Here's what I was able to find. 2019, first year that we have any information on this, so the numbers are probably higher. 72% of men and women surveyed said they have been ghosted in a romantic relationship. 72% ghosted in a romantic relationship. 64% admitted to doing it to somebody else. Ghosting. Cut off the communication. I no longer want to deal with you. Hence, we're done. I don't even respond. Another term for this, especially for some, is a pattern of passive-aggressive behavior and not dealing with real issues. Millennials. Okay, that's ages 18 to 33. And 78% say they've been ghosted. But we also know that they're doing it to each other. So what's happened in our ability to communicate? What's happened in our relationships that we are not able to really look at each other in the eye, in person, or at the bare minimum on the phone, and have a real conversation, a real-time conversation, where we talk about those things that are hurting and challenging to deal with, and if a relationship is going to end, we talk about it. This is not a common practice, dealing with reality. That's why we wrote this little book on ghosting. But here's some things that you could feel if you've been ghosted. And I just cannot underscore enough how painful this can be. Ghosting. Well, it's a form. You think it's benign. Some call it benign neglect. It's benign in that I have not done anything. I'm not saying anything. But in reality, it's powerful and it's emotionally abusive. Shunning, snubbing, deserting another relationship. We also know that abandonment of a relationship. Rejecting. Another term, leaving somebody high and dry. I'm talking about this because there are after effects of ghosting. There are after effects that create, and I made a list, create confusion. This is difficult. I don't know what is true, and it's just confusing. Is it my fault? What's going on? Ghosting can diminish your self-esteem. It diminishes your sense of, I have value, because ghosting communicates you have no value. It creates a lot. I say it stirs self-doubt. Ghosting causes you to doubt a lot of things about your relationship. What? If it's a romantic one, do I not look good enough? What's wrong with me? And you begin down a spiral of self-doubt. There is a deepened mistrust in others. There is all the emotional complexities. I mentioned emotional abuse. If I'm ghosting other people, it can cause me to feel a sense of power, a false sense of power. I probably have a very fragile ego. And if you've been ghosted, the first thing you need to know is, it is not about you. It's not about you. But ghosting is causing us to feel like this is all my fault. It's all about me. When in fact it's not. Here you go. Here's the 10 warning signs that somebody might ghost you. Does the person avoid conflict? They're not talking about, verbalizing or talking about things that could be difficult. They're just simply avoiding conflict. Number 2, they have extreme mood swings. A ghoster doesn't feel good about themselves, and they may have extreme mood swings. You may notice this. And they may appear to be very impulsive. One day they're on and one day they're off. They can create distance in a relationship, emotional distance, but they really do deny that. They deny that that's what they're doing. But there's an emotional isolation, there's a pulling away. They probably minimize anything that is a concern to you. If you bring up an issue or problem, everything gets minimized. Now, again, we're going through some warning signs that you could be ghosted. This is just some warning signs that a person may just eventually cut you off. If you find that they're withholding, they may be withholding information. Again, it could relate back to conflict. They could be withholding affection. They may withhold compliments as well. And you see, healthy people give these with some relative ease. Compliment, affection is normal. But a person that there's already a sense of, for them, mistrust, inferiority that they're carrying, and they do not have the character strength to face an issue and deal with it. So we just ghost it. You may notice a pattern, I'm on number 6, of bailing out. They're just bailing out and really truly acting flaky. Bailing out and acting flaky. You'll find, number 7, that they're probably self-centered. A narcissistic personality individual could indeed have these signs of pending ghosting. Again, a narcissistic personality, it's all about them. They don't care about your feelings. And it is absolutely a lack of empathy, a lack of even caring to understand what your position or feelings may be. Number 8, potential for ghosting is, are they giving you straight answers? They may not even be giving you, very straight, probably pretty vague answers. And again, they're kind of withholding or isolating, not giving you much information. They may say, number 9, that I'm too busy. I'm too busy to look at you in the eyes, too busy to really deal with things. And just, they're kind of pushing you off using busyness as an excuse. Another warning sign of pending ghosting could be that of a person that is, well, they're giving you silent treatment, or you see patterns of withdrawal and silence and really not connecting with you, so you see a pattern of silent treatment. All right, those are just some considerations for a person that may use ghosting as a way not to resolve issues or problems. They just disappear. Again, it is a source of at times, a sense of feeling powerful. And as a person feels powerful, because they had the last say or no say. And it is also for some, and I want you to look at the person who does the ghosting as a person they're avoiding pain, they're avoiding conflict, they are avoiders. And it's just the easy way to get out of situations. But you can see that they're avoiding their own personal pain and their own personal conflict. A ghoster, it's important to know that a ghoster will have a fear of intimacy. They simply cannot get close. There's a fear of intimacy in their life, and they won't allow anything to get too serious. If it does, getting too close, too serious, that's where we cut it off. That's where we're ghosting. All right. And then I have here to mention the lack of self-awareness. A ghoster has very little self-awareness. And the self-awareness is such that is such a lack of empathy or caring. They're so disconnected from anybody else's potential feelings. And that's why lack of empathy is a huge one for a ghoster. Obviously, there are going to be people that are very emotionally immature. You're going to see just a thread of immaturity. Now, do people who ghost, do they ever change? Yeah. Ghosting's something that's probably been learned. And do they need some assistance and some counseling? From my vantage point as a counselor, absolutely. They need that. Does a ghoster change in how they treat another person? Let me just say, if you've had a pattern of ghosting, that change is probably slow. And the level of awareness, but a person who's got a pattern of ghosting, they absolutely have to deal with the pain in their own life. And so that's when I say it's not about you. No, it's not about you. There's probably a great deal of shame in there for them, and the betrayal that this creates when they are ghosting. This is where we have to be really careful, because that is interpreted as rejection, and that rejection leads to a sense of, I see this over and over, abandonment and loneliness. We feel abandoned and we become more lonely, and what we have to be careful if we've been ghosted is not to pull back, not to retreat from a relationship. or all relationships. We have to stay in the game. The betrayal that's experienced in ghosting can really break a trust, and you can say, I don't trust people anymore. And we've got to be careful that we don't paint the world and everybody through the lenses of, I can't trust them, I've been so deeply wounded. But we need to zero in a person that does not have the maturity or skills to problem solve, who is a ghoster, and we just went through some of the potential warning signs, is a person that needs some healing themselves. And so be careful that you're not taking that on and again internalizing that it's something wrong with you. This is a difficult topic, and finally I think it's important to know there are some people who have had a pattern of ghosting, and I'm just going to tell you they're wounded, but they have a good heart. And here's my list for how to tell if they have a good heart. They're not misusing humor at the expense of others. In other words, painful, sarcastic behavior. They're not doing that. You'll see a person who has a good heart will tend to be generous. Okay, so as a person's changing from their whole ghosting pattern, you're going to start to see some gratitude creep in there and some empathy, and you're going to see that this is a person that they start to treat others with a sense of respect and dignity. A person that has a good heart, their words and their actions will be more in sync. And a relationship is more about win-win. So look for some of those qualities. And we know that in a healthy relationship, there's ongoing growth and there's truth, and we're not impulsive with our emotions, or we're not hurtful, and we don't avoid issues. That's what ghosting is. It's all about avoiding issues. All right, you can tell. I'm just finding as we put this book together, here today, ghosted tomorrow, that the amount of hurt that can be there is great, and I want to acknowledge that. But I also we've got to have a system of assessment of our relationships and know what's us and know what's not, and don't carry what's not us. And there is a pattern that we can develop of working on resolving issues, seeking forgiveness where it's needed and required, being a truth teller, and being a person that is trustworthy in a relationship. So we need to do it. If we've been ghosted, yeah, it's painful, but we need to do a little bit of a self-exam and see, are we building ourselves healthy relationships? Let's do it. It's always so worth it to build healthy relationships. When it gets all down to it, that's what we have, the health of our relationships.